This is a demonstration of how to bark graft camellias. Now, bark grafting is done in the summertime, usually late summer. You want to have actively growing rootstock in order for it to work. Rootstock with active shoots on it is best, if at all possible. Now, we've chosen a rootstock here with a diameter of approximately 1 inch. It's best to have 1/2 to 1 inch diameter rootstock. And I'm going to saw it off rather than use clippers, because clippers tend to pinch the bark, and when you pinch the bark it will reduce your success rate. So I'm going to saw this plant off where the bark is smooth. Now that's the one thing that's important. You want to find an area that's smooth, free of blemishes and bumps, where you're going to actually perform the graft. So I'm going to saw it off right about here where the bark is nice and smooth, and just saw that off. And remove that. Now I'm going to leave a feeder limb here, but I'm not going to leave quite as much as what's here. I'm going to just saw that off because it's kind of in the way. Just a little bit of live tissue. Then the next thing is to cut the bark where I'm going to graft it. I'm going to slit the bark I'm using a razor blade knife. I usually start about approximately 1.5 inches below the top of the stump, and I start from there and go up. And the reason I do it that way is it makes the cut straighter. So I'm going to just go straight up, just like that. Then you're going to make sure it peels back easily. And I use this little spatula from part of a budding knife, and we get the in between, and then we peel the bark back on one side only. You only peel it back on one side. That's very important. You don't touch the other side. Okay? Then we prepare our scion that's going to slip in there. You want a piece of wood with a nice inner node space that's straight, that's going to fit in there. We're going to cut it on both sides, and the first thing you do is you choose the side of the scion that you want up against what I call the unlifted bark, and you want it nice and straight. So I've chosen that side there will be on the unlifted side. So I cut first here, and we want to cut so that we see the pith of the stem, which is the center part, exposing the cambial layers. Okay, and I look at it on its side and make sure it's kind of straight and flat so it fits up against. Then we turn it over and do the same thing on the other side, and we cut it until we see the pith. And again, you want it nice and smooth. Okay, then I'm going to do the third cut, which is very important, which is to cut a thin sliver off the side that's going to touch the unlifted bark. So I'm going to take this little sliver right here and just go just like that. Not all the bark, just a sliver, and that little green area will go up against the unlifted bark. And so we're going to just take this and we're going to stick it in there, and I'm going to press it down until it's, and you want it tight up against that bark, and that's good. And see, that little green sliver then is up against the unlifted bark, which is also green. So you've got green against green. Then what I like to wrap it with is this material called Coflex. And this Coflex is actually used for wrapping like injuries, and this particular is like for horses. And the reason I use it is that when you stretch it, it has little holes in it, and then this bark won't sweat during the hot summer days. And we're going to wrap that around, and it's like Velcro. It just sticks to itself, and you want to wrap it in the direction that you pull the bark onto the sign and up against the unlifted bark. That's important. If you're right-handed, you would probably go the opposite direction of what I'm doing right now. And you want to go right to the top of the stump and hold that there for just a second, and that's kind of just seals that and it stays in place. The thing you also want to do is you want to reduce the leaf area in half, so you will reduce your amount of transpiration. And then the other thing you can do to kind of help the healing process is put a small amount of root tone on top of the stump, and that helps with the callus formation. And there you have a bark graft. Now you can either wrap this in a cage, or if you don't have a feeder limb, you can cover it with a jar, or you could put it in some kind of a moist, like a terrarium or something, to keep it from drying out. It's very important. It's got to stay fully moist, just like you would do a cleft graft.